Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to Essentially Dacob, the fragrant bunker. Listen, today is a very, very special day. A lot of amazing things have happened today in my life, and to celebrate it, I want to review Vivienne Westwood's Boudoir fragrance. Okay? Now, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can also join me on Patreon, superdacob all spelled together for extra perks. Thank you to all my patrons who have already pledged. I live stream every Saturday on my main channel, so go join me on my live streams every Saturday and partake in the live chats. Just like with this video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. Hello, my co-reviewers. Let me blend you all in. You guys, are you ready for this? I am dressed in Vivienne Westwood regalia from head to toe because we're reviewing. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? Are you living, ferret? Are you dying, ferret? Oh my God, this is so heavy, you guys. This is where it's at. The queen of all perfumes, darling. The queen of it all. Okay, we are reviewing Vivienne Westwood's Boudoir, darling. Now, this rosy liquid is the original liquid. I'm going to put it down now. That's the original color of the liquid when it's brand new, just manufactured. It's that rose color because it's full of roses and marigolds. And vanilla. Now, but because there's a lot of vanilla in there, with time, the perfume turns dark. That doesn't mean that the perfume is bad. It just means that the vanilla oxidizes. So I've just unboxed a brand new bottle of Boudoir, and you can see how it turned ambery. Now, this one is batch code 7080. So it's a couple of years old. This perfume has been discontinued. I purchased a couple of bottles, as much as I could, really, to stock up for the future, to have whenever I need my fix of boudoir. And so even though this one was closed and sealed in here and was not exposed to sun, it did turn dark amber, this delicious golden ambery color, and that is okay. Now, I sprayed it on already before starting to film, and it's already starting to dry down to this delicious bubblegummy, powdery, marigold paradise of a smell, a resinous paradise of a smell. And let me tell you something, this particular perfume has a lot of marigold in it. The marigold gives it that dusty, dirty, earthy tone, the sexual vibe of boudoir. And also, marigolds actually have a orangey, yellowy, goldeny type of color, the petals of the flower. So you could say that this is kind of resembling the color of the marigold flower. In fact, it is. Now, there's also tobacco in this one, and the tobacco also delivers a sensuality in this fragrance like none other. The aldehydes that sparkle in the opening give it that bubbly tone, that synthetic bubbly moment, very typical to the 90s. Why would I say 90s? Well, because this perfume was released in the 90s. Vivienne Westwood released Boudoir in 1998, actually. Now listen to this. The perfumer is Martin Gras, or Martin Gras, but one S, so I think it's Gras. And it in the description of Boudoir from the maker, we have stated Boudoir, a chypre floral fragrance presented since 1998. It is dedicated to a feminine and strong woman. We know perfumes know no gender, however. With accentuated sexuality. Just like a boudoir, the fragrance defines a private and intimate space, charming and seductive, while touching the woman's skin, neck, and décolleté. It was designed by Martin Gras with an intention to create a fragrance that will make all men turn their heads after the woman that wears it when the smell wafts past them. The top notes are aldehydes, sweetly fresh bergamot, hyacinth, and orange blossom. The heart is sweet and opulent with jasmine, luscious rose, narcissus, carnation, orris root, cardamom, coriander. The base brings patchouli, warm and milky sandalwood, tobacco leaves, cinnamon, and powdery soft vanilla. The bottle was designed by Fabrice Legros. The top is made as a globe encircled by a ring, which symbolized the power of femininity. By the way, the top of the bottle, I have also an empty bottle here of Boudoir, is the symbol of Vivienne Westwood's. It's her logo, basically. It's the royal orb with the rings of Saturn around it, however. Now, I also have the pure perfume of Vivienne Westwood's Boudoir. What I'm reviewing today is the Eau de Parfum. Now, the perfume will receive a separate special review on its own. Not that this one is any less special, but the pure perfume is going to get a special visual treatment as well. Today, we're just going to focus on the Eau de Parfum. Now, an ingredient that they forgot to mention or purposefully left out in the description is the marigold. The marigold is with the aldehydes in the top. Wait, no, I think maybe they did mention it in the top notes. Did they? No, they left it out, but the marigold is in the top notes. And marigold gives an earthy, dirty smell, almost indolic, but not poopy though. This is more sexual. It's more of a dry sexuality. And Boudoir is that way. It starts innocent with that bubblegummy note in the opening that makes you almost feel so innocent, like going to the mall together, shopping, very 80s and 90s. But then as it starts drying down, it becomes more mature. It becomes more intense. It becomes more sophisticated. It grows up. It plumps up. It perks up. It horns up. In fact, this perfume is all horned up after a couple of minutes of wearing it. Now, the packaging of it actually shows you the color of the liquid. This pink, baby pink nuance on the side is actually the color of the liquid when the perfume is just produced and manufactured, but with time it changes color to this gorgeous ambery note. Don't worry if you get the ambery version. It just means that the vanilla has oxidized and the smell is to die for. However, we do have a factice bottle here, so I'm going to show you again how the liquid used to look like when this perfume was still in production. Since this perfume has been discontinued, in a couple of years' time, all we're going to have is memories on photos of how these perfumes looked like when they were freshly made. But the factice bottles that have liquid in them have a colored liquid to show us exactly the original color of the perfume. So let me show it once again. It's really heavy because this one is full of liquid and it's a heavy glass bottle. But let me lift it up for y'alls. This is, so obviously I have purple background now, so it gets even more of that color, but it's kind of this peachy pink hue. Okay? Hold on, that's the color of this gorgeous, gorgeous. How amazing is this bottle? This is just a masterpiece of a perfume bottle, and it epitomizes the 90s. It's the 90s at their best. Oh, look at that crown, that jewel on top, how it reflects the light. They don't make them like this anymore, guys. This is where it's at. Hold on. So, how do we feel about Boudoir? When I first smelled Boudoir many, many moons ago, I did not understand it. I was not ready for it. I the perfume was ripe. I wasn't. You need a certain type of sexual maturity for it. You need a certain type of sexual experience for it. It's a dirty perfume. And you know what the funny thing about it is? When I was more innocent, if ever, the perfume smelled dirty to me. The first time I smelled it, I was very young and I very innocent, and it smelled dirty to me. Bad, rancid. And this was when the perfume was still in production. I smelled it in a perfume shop. Hated it. Hated it. As years, passed by, from time to time I would enter a Vivienne Westwood boutique, and usually they would perfume the air with it. I would always ask myself, what is this powdery smell this scent that I smell in the air? And they would usually say, well, it's boudoir. And it smells quite different when it's in the air. It also smells different when it falls on furniture. It smells different when it gets absorbed by wood. But I associated it always with the smell of Vivienne Westwood boutiques. And it would be a smell that I would associate to a store, not necessarily to an actual perfume or fragrance that I would want to wear on myself. But in the stores, it did not smell bad anymore. However, I still had the memory of it smelling dirty on me, so I didn't contemplate wearing it. Fast forward a couple of years. No more innocence. This hoe has been around the block a couple of times. And one day, by accident, I'm in a perfume shop, and the perfume that I was looking for that day was sold out. And I kind of annoyed, I just turn around and I'm just upset, like, ugh, whatever. It's just not my day. And I turn around, and on the shelves where the other perfumes are staying, I just turn around and I face boudoir right in front of me. Smack right in front of me. Like, stood there, the bottles all aligned, and one tester right there. And I was like, oh, it's you again. Huh. It's you again, isn't it? I lift the lid. I spray it on. Which we're going to do again now. And I smell the cleanest perfume I've ever smelled in my life. Or one of them. And I understood boudoir. I was ripe enough, mature enough, and not innocent anymore to understand boudoir. And so fascinating how, when I was innocent, this thing smelled dirty. But now that I've been around the block a couple of times and I became the dirty hoe, the perfume started smelling clean. The perfume was dirtier than me back in the day. Now I'm dirtier than the perfume. And now the perfume all of a sudden smelled clean. And I finally got it. And I understood. Got it. So this is what she was going at. Vivienne is said to have said, allegedly, that boudoir and its dry down smells of post-coital fermentation, if you may. And obviously, when you haven't had such experiences, what do you know how that smells, and why would that even smell nice? But once you've gone through it a couple of times and you realize, oh, there's actually a beauty to hormones blending, essential oils of people blending while they're experiencing sexuality together. And there's a smell that you create with your partner after you're done. And that particular smell of sweat mixed with hormones, mixed with liquids of all kinds of types, from spit to other things, blends together into something that, if the partner is right for you and your chemicals blend nicely, it will have a sickly sweet smell. It will. And once you understand that, smell, and once you've enjoyed that experience in your life and smelled it and enjoyed that smell, well, that's when you're going to start enjoying boudoir. Oh, thank you so much for purchasing the accessory pouch. That's boudoir. It's understanding that titillating moment after the orgasm has happened, and then you're just like chilling with your lover as you're charging up to restart the dance all over again. That's the smell of this. It captures that moment in between acts. And the evolution of it is so fascinating because the more you wear it, the more you evolve with it. So when you're way too young for this perfume, it's going to smell dirty. Then when you have your sexual encounters, then it's not going to smell dirty anymore. But then even later still, you're going to find even more nuances in it. Now, I had the wonderful opportunity to talk to Vivienne Westwood, to get to meet her, to work with her, and she revealed something magical to me. I said to her at one point, I was like, Vivienne, you smell of boudoir. Are you wearing boudoir? And then she said, yes, I wear boudoir. She wears boudoir all the time. It's her favorite perfume. She co-designed it. Of course, it's her favorite perfume, and she's faithful to it. And this was just a couple of years ago. She was wearing boudoir. Vivienne Westwood wears boudoir. Let that sink in. And then we can move into this next segment, which is age. It evolves on you, not so much so in terms of like other perfumes do, top notes, mid notes, base notes. Why would I show it like that? Anyway, top notes, mid notes, base notes, but rather the concept of the notes of boudoir require a much vaster time frame. Hence why I was hinting at it already at the beginning of the review by saying it smelled bad when I was younger. Well, those were the opening notes. You see where we're going here? Then in your full sexual age, when you are at your most fertile, you're in your mid notes. And then in your twilight years, you get to the dry down of this perfume. I mean, I'm wishing Vivienne Westwood 1 billion years of life, but she is in her 80s. And the way that boudoir smells on her, and also the way that boudoir smells to her, is the effect of the dry down. And this perfume is so majestic in the dry down, but you need time. You need age. You need to be so lucky to make it to a higher age, to be able to enjoy the full dry down of boudoir. Boudoir is a cocotte that is ageless. Boudoir is a cocotte that has, been around the block many years, many decades. And she's still a cocotte at 80. She's still sexual at 80. But she knows more. There's more wisdom there. There's more depth there. There's more intention there. There's more knowledge there. There's also more humility and a humble approach to things. And that's when this perfume hits the dry down. And you got to be so lucky to make it that far in your life to be able to actually smell the dry down of boudoir. Fascinating. No other perfume does this. The older you get, and the deeper this thing smells, but also the sweeter it gets. When you're very young and you smell it, this perfume is not tamed. This perfume is an animal. It is cruel and vicious and aggressive. And then with time, it gets more tame and more nice and docile. And by the time you're more advanced in your age, this perfume is heaven. Paradise on earth. A very fascinating concept of time passing as this perfume evolves. Keith J says, I love dirty scents. Jack says, loving the story. Keith says, didn't Tom Ford create a scent that was to smell like urine and cocaine, LOL? Maybe he did, but he'll never reach the poetry of a Vivienne Westwood, so. Nice try, Tom, but sorry, boo-boo. Texas calling, honey. Texas calling. Get back on the Greyhound and see ya. So it's a bit spicy on me, says Debbie. Yes, that's a part of its evolution. The spiciness of it all. It's spicy on you now. Wait another 5 years. It's not going to be spicy anymore. It's going to evolve into what you are in that moment. Jack says, sniffing as we speak. Trina says, what a great description. Thank you, Trina. Sunny says, so what did I miss? Oh, yo, honey, you've missed the most sexual perfume ever. We're talking about Boudoir by Vivienne Westwood. This, if you can get your hands on this, you guys, please do. Do yourself a favor before it's gone forever. It's not in production anymore. Boudoir has been discontinued. Not because it wasn't selling. It has huge fans. People who love it to bits, who would want to repurchase it over and over and over again. But Vivienne Westwood was not ready to sell out. Lancaster used to produce the perfume, then it was taken over by Coty. Coty said, we're going to manufacture and distribute your perfume, but we're going to have to introduce new fragrances every year just to, keep it moving, and cheap perfumes that not much thought went into. Vivienne allegedly didn't know about this, but I heard a story one day when she did find out that there were other perfumes out that were not hers. She was furious. She took all the bottles away from World's End in London and said, no. What is this crap? With my name on it? No. I only produced and made Boudoir. That's the one I love. This is the one I believe in. All this other shit, take it away. Coty then allegedly said, sorry, but it's not profitable for us. It's only profitable for us if we keep churning out new shit all the time for people to spend money on. This alone doesn't sell enough to warrant us keeping production going. Then she said, okay, well then, bye-bye. So the reason why this perfume was discontinued was not because not enough people wanted to buy it, allegedly, but because, allegedly, Vivienne said, no, I don't want to be a greedy biatch, just, making money for the sake of making money. If I don't believe in the product, I don't want it. So discontinue all the cheeky Alices, all the Montboudoirs, the Boudoir Gardens, the Anglomanias, all of those perfumes gots to go. Let it rock. Everything gots to go. This is the only one I want. And if Coty doesn't want to just make this one perfume I like, or if they don't want to spend another 2 or 3 years with me developing another perfume I like, then I don't want to have anything to do with it. And that's why the distribution contract ended. And when it ended, it was not renewed. And Boudoir was discontinued. So the only reason why we don't have Boudoir anymore is not because there's lack of interest, but because there was a conflict of interests. The conflict of interests being Vivienne wanting only her name on perfumes she believed in, and Coty wanting Vivienne's name on any garbage that they churn out just for the sake of the almighty dollar. But Vivienne being Vivienne, having a solid moral approach to things and also to business, said, no, I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil. Fascinating that this story is connected to Boudoir, which is kind of the perfume of a cocotte. You would think a cocotte is a person, easy, would go with anybody, would go. If the price is right, she would go anywhere. That's not the story of this cocotte. This cocotte is a picky one. This cocotte knows what she wants and from who she wants what she wants. So it's the type of boudoir you're entering when you're smelling this fragrance. It's a boudoir of a person that knows so much, that has experienced and lived so much, but the strength of this perfume and the strength of that person wearing that perfume is that despite all the odds and despite all the negative shit that happened to this person, life did not manage to make this person turn bitter. On the contrary, with every negative experience that this cocotte encountered in her life, it just made her nicer, brighter, more loving and lovable. It's a person that despite all odds did not allow life to make them bitter. but instead made them this wise, all-encompassing, caring creature. It's a very rare story of a cocotte that had so much love to give that even life could not take all that love away. And the perfume smells just like that. It smells of a room that you enter, and the room is padded with soft velvet, and it is that pourpre, that P-U-R-P-R-E, pourpre. It's a really difficult word in French. It's like a powdery rosé, pourpre. Pourpre. It's such a difficult word to pronounce. Purpur, if you may. And it's like a dusty rose. So envision this room padded in this matelassé dusty rose velvet, super soft, dimmed lights, a breeze, a waft of roses, cardamom, orris root, tobacco, marigold, just caressing your skin as you're walking through and getting dressed in these silks. The silk is also this kind of pinky hue. And it all vibrates and moves. Every little, and your senses become so awake and aware. And you get to see every single bit of velvet kind of move in this breeze, breezing through the boudoir. It kind of like shimmers and moves. And it breathes with you. And all of a sudden you realize it's actually like being in a womb. It's the ultimate return to life. It's where you feel most safe. Out there, life is terrible. It's hurtful. It harms you. It hurts you. It does terrible things to you. And yet, you have your boudoir where you close yourself inside of and you feel safe, like you're in a womb. In your mother's womb all over again. Completely safe. Where all that negativity does not affect you. But at the same time, inside that boudoir, you're free to be yourself. You're free to experience yourself, your body, pleasure, delights, but all safe. This perfume does smell safe, not in the way that we describe perfumes. When we say, oh, the perfume smells safe, usually when we say that nowadays in 2022, what we mean to say is the developers, the formulations, the people who composed this perfume were just playing it safe. They just want to sell a lot of them. It's a perfume that doesn't have much character. It's easy to use in the office. Inoffensive. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not what I mean when I say this one smells of safety. Smelling of safety today is a very complicated concept because nothing is safe. Nobody is safe. We're not safe. Our society is very dangerous these days. But this perfume smells of, I'm going to get through it despite all the odds, and I will be safe. That's a smell that is very hard to reach, to obtain. It's a smell that is conscious of beauty. It's conscious of form, shape, proportions. It is a smell that echoes everything Vivienne Westwood in particular stood for in the 90s. And I say stood for because obviously she has evolved and her designs have evolved, her sense of aesthetics have evolved throughout the decades. But in the 90s, she was particularly keen on a Baroque approach to aesthetics, also the Greek mythology, the sculptural element, the draping of clothes, deconstructing the pleats, creating asymmetric cuts, but everything with this Baroque cocotte type of vision in mind. She was also huge friends with Christian Lacroix. Christian Lacroix and Vivienne Westwood were really, she was obsessed with him actually. There's a documentary film where she, from the 90s, where she had her, curly hair, very much like Madonna did in the Blonde Ambition tour. And she was analyzing Christian Lacroix's designs and his kind of Baroque approach to aesthetics and to the Rococo era as well. So boudoir comes in that period. It comes from a time where there is a nostalgia towards the past, a moment of the court of Louis XIV, but also la courtisane, the cocottes that are surrounding the courtship. So not nobility. And Vivienne was also playing with the whole concept of nobility, being British herself and having to deal with aristocracy. Now, Vivienne Westwood has become Dame Vivienne Westwood since then. But back in the day, she was very rebellious. And there was this concept of this perfume being a sort of a safety net of who is not noble, who is not aristocratic, who has not made it to the court, but fiddles with it, deals with it, understands it, plays with it, toys with it, finds ways to use it to remain safe. Again, the word safety connected to this perfume. But all that while being very knowledgeable about aesthetics, the sense of beauty and art and proportions. In fact, the bottle echoes this extremely. It is a very beautifully proportioned bottle, especially to note how rounded all the corners and edges are and how thick they left the glass at the bottom and how beautiful the sticker is at the front. It is also in this pourpre, this rosy, dusty, mattified color, and then embossed in gold lettering that spells out Vivienne Westwood, the orb, and then it says boudoir at the bottom. Then we have that stopper, which is the orb with the golden ring, and we have the spray, which is also gold. And you get your little orb here, which is, since Coty took over, turned into a translucent orb with the metal rings around it. Lancaster had it all in metal, except for the pure perfume, which had the kind of the crystal top, metal ring, and then it had actual crystals embedded in the crown. But as I said, we will dedicate a special video review just for the pure perfume later on. This is for the eau de parfum. As the perfume was first released, there was an entire bath and body range to go with it. The dusting powder, opulent. The luscious body creams, the body lotions, the shower gels. I think at a certain point there might have even been a body oil. It was just the most beautiful, ethereal, but at the same time very grounded perfume launch. Vivienne worked many years on the release of this perfume, and she was very proud of it. She loved to give interviews about it when it was released, and in fact, so proud of it that to this day, if she still has any bottles left, she still keeps using it. I can tell you this, Coty did a wonderful job with this one. This was not butchered. When Coty took over, reformulations had to happen. Obviously, all perfumes go through reformulations. But Boudoir maintained its DNA. In these last batches produced before the perfume was discontinued, and I've purchased all the last batches. I even have, so I'm opening them as we go. I have quite a few bottles left, but I have categorized them. I have put them in my archives all according to batch codes. So I'm opening the smallest numbers first as I go along. So I opened now the 7080, but my batches go all the way up to 8324, something like that. And that's when the perfume stopped being produced. So I do not think that there is any batch code with a 9 out there. They ended all with the 8s. So, this being one of the last batches produced, one of the last years in production, decades after the 90s release, I can tell you it still smells wonderful. Coty can butcher perfumes when they want to. They did not do it with this one. This one maintained its core and essence. It's, oh man, it's such a beautiful fragrance. It makes you understand that life is not forever. It smells of death as well, but it's reassuring. And this is really difficult to talk about, also difficult to understand and to acknowledge. It smells of passing, but at the same time it tells you it's all going to be okay. Don't you worry about a thing. Just because the body is gone, the essence lives on. It makes you smell that. It makes you smell forever. It's safe. It's a womb. It's the smell of a womb. And it is, I mean, not literally, not physically, conceptually. It smells of the safety of a womb. It's wonderful. And I understand that she spent a lot of years working on this. It's a very, very precise, delicate concept of composing a fragrance, note by note by note, giving it the right context. You know, there was an interview that Vivienne gave right after the perfume was launched, I think the night of its launch, and you can still find it on YouTube. And it was so fascinating. She said, you know, it was really difficult to do this. She said, you know, how perfumers work, you just add a tiny little bit more of one ingredient, and then the whole balance is over. Or you take just one little milli nano element away, and then the whole balance is gone again. Like, you have to work so slowly and gently to get to the point where the smell echoes your vision of the poetry behind it. And she delivered. Mr. Gras and Vivienne Westwood together, they came to that point in time and space where a perfume like this was born. The epitome of so many trials and tribulations. Vivienne's own study path, career, education, design, evolution. The concept that she had, vision of the future, of aesthetics, art history, design history, and the vision of the future. Not for nothing, the rings of Saturn are surrounding the orb, the regal orb. It is fascinating. Now, I get 10 hours, 11 hours out of this one. Longevity. Projection. For today's standards, it's big. Okay. Now, if we're talking, late 90s, this was not a beast. There were more beastly perfumes out there. But it is a strong perfume. It projects. It fills a room. When you spray it, it builds up the womb. It builds up this entire concept. Oh, there's a... Did I get the bug? The womb is not for the insects, honey. It's just for humans. It builds up this whole... It's like you spray it and it blows up, and it fills the space completely. It creates the environment. It sets the tone. It sets the mood. It sets the pace. And if you are mature enough to actually feel all that, it's going to take you far. If you're not, like when I first smelled it, I was not ready for it. Then you're not going to understand its magic. But that's okay. It's not for everyone. You're not supposed to understand it at any age. You need time. But, as Vivienne says, art stops the clock. And that's the weird twist of this perfume. This one stops the clock. This one is art. This one stops the clock. Whenever I spray on boudoir, time stops. Worries are gone. And for a perfume to have that power, that's as close as we can get to a miracle, in my humble opinion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this review. If you have, thumb it up, subscribe to my channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Thank you to all my co-viewers and co-reviewers. And until next time, never forget to never give up on love. Love you all. Bye.